Greetings. I'm, I'm laughing because I watch the intro to the show there, the dancing panda, and it always makes me laugh. So that's good. Doesn't matter what kind of mood I'm in before the show starts. I watch the little panda dancing in our intro there, and whatever that music is, and it makes me smile. So that's good. Greetings once again. This is the New Thought Media Network. I am Ken Ludwig, and you are watching the Vibrant Living Hour. Hope this day finds you healthy, happy, and absolutely thriving in whatever it is you're doing in the world. Hi, are you there? Wayne, how are you, buddy? It's good to see you again. Didn't see you last week. So welcome to the show. And it's one of every once in a while, you come on the show and you know exactly what you're going to say, and you're excited and you can't wait to get it out of your mouth. And today I have some things that I'm really interested in, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I hope everybody else is interested in it. Eniko, hi, my darling, good to see you. Grace, good to see you as well. So I never know how I'm going to feel when I come on to do it, and but we're going to start with something unique and different today. I have a prayer partner that I have been prayer partners with for a dozen years or more. It's really funny. We don't know how long we've been prayer partners. We know exactly how we became prayer partners, but we're not sure how we met, and we've never met in person. She used to live in the Northwest. Now she lives in San Diego. She is a New Thought minister, and she's a good friend, and she is my prayer partner, as I said. And every once in a while, she sends me something that is pertinent to what's going on in my world. She probably knows as much about what's going on in my world as my wife, maybe more in some instances. Hiya, Tiff. Thank you for joining me, sweetie. It's so good to see you there. So she sends it from the, I think it's the Magazine for Unity, and I'm not 100% sure that that's correct, but it is called The Daily Word. That I am sure about. And the other day she sent me this, and I just want to read this to you because this is really, I think it's really just pertinent to life in general, to everyday life. And I'm not 100% sure she was sending me this for a particular reason, or if she just sent it to me. So here it is. In nature, divine order is all around me. I notice the changing seasons, the phases of the moon, even the daily movement of the sun across the sky. Every part of the natural world follows an orderly pattern. My life may not be as predictable, but it too is unfolding in an orderly way. I remember this when I begin to feel impatient, that my aspirations feel far away, or help or inspiration that I need to go forward will never come. At moments like these, I pause and I affirm divine order. I focus my attention on what is before me and release my concern about the future. I do not succumb to feelings of frustration or the temptation to rush the process of manifestation. I feel my connection to spirit and I relax as I trust in divine order. I just, I love that. And I think it's pertinent to me in my life, just in just in a general sense, but I think it's pertinent to life in general. I particularly love the piece at the end there about I do not succumb to feelings of frustration or the temptation to rush the process of manifestation. Anybody else out there like me where you constantly, you know what you want, you have your intentions, you have your goals, you have your process, you have your what we call in my industry your DMO, your daily method of operation. You know exactly what you're going to do and where you're going to go and what your ideas are, and you're going to get there, and you know you're going to get there, and then you go, but where's my stuff? Why isn't it here yet? How do I make this happen? And I get clearer and clearer as the days pass that it's not about making it happen. So much of it is about letting it happen, about making my intentions, setting my goals, doing the work. We call it in New Thought, we call it treat and move your feet, which is really just more or less in non-metaphysicians terms. It means just do your prayer work and then move in the direction of your dreams. But every once in a while, don't we get to a point where we're like, wow, but come on, I've done the work. I've done the prayers. I've set the goals. I've set the intentions. I do my process every single day. Where's my stuff? And I think it's just an interesting process for everybody to just stop and think about. Just let it go. Let it go. We are actually, hi, Lisa. My darling Lisa is with us as well. We would do so much better if we just trusted in that divine order that little piece mentioned. Trust in the divine order. What you think about expands. What you focus on grows. The things that you require and desire, if you are in a vibrational match with them, they will be your reality. And you just need to absolutely be clear that that's what you're doing and that's where you're heading. And then you have to be patient. You know, I've heard a million times in my life, and you've probably heard it as well. Everything happens in divine time, or everything happens in God's time. And at one point in my life, I went, what the hell is that? What exactly is God's time? What is divine timing? And one day it came to me in meditation. Divine time is you will get exactly what it is you intend, exactly what it is you wish to manifest in your life at exactly the precise moment when it is not possible for you to be any more grateful for it. When you could not possibly be more grateful for the manifestation, that's when you will have it. That's when it will appear in your life. That's divine time. And what does that require? That requires surrender, man. That requires patience. That requires just kind of letting it all happen. Trust that divine order. Trust that the process works. Trust that the law of cause and effect works. You know, people talk all the time ever since, well, I would like to say ever since The Secret, or maybe even What the Bleep Do We Know, that movie, if you haven't seen that. But ever since then, people have been really focused on the law of attraction. The law of attraction is really just a corollary of the law of cause and effect. It absolutely has to do with what goes around comes around. What you put out comes back to you. That's the law of attraction. It's a direct reflection of who you are. It's a direct reflection of you putting out into the universe exactly the person you claim to be, and allowing for the universe then to reflect back to you exactly what is in perfect harmony with that person that you claim to be. And if that person you claim to be is always the next highest vision of you, then you can always expect the next highest vision of your reality, of your intentions, of your goals to be what you attract. I wasn't expecting to go off on that piece today, but that's just, it really, really, really resonated with me. Everything is the sacred figure of the universe is the circle. Everything is a circuit. Emerson famously said, we need to get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. It is a circuit. Everything is a circuit. It goes on a circuit. The old idea, what goes around comes around. The law of cause and effect. Cause and effect. That's how it works. And everything filters who you are, who you claim to be. What is your reality? What are your thoughts on that? And you folks who are listening, if you got a comment, I'd love to hear it. If you have a question about it. I want to read something also that I read last week, because this is fascinating to me. And I think this is, excuse me, this is also something that's pertinent to everybody's life. Listen to this. And just see if you can wrap your mind around it, because it took me a minute. This is from a Swedish psychiatrist by the name of R.D. Lang, and that's Laing. And I was totally unfamiliar with him when I wrote this quote down. I believe it comes from something called The Intolerable Nature of Uncertainty. People who I know who are therapists were very familiar with R.D. Lang. As I said, I was not. But here's what he says. This is mind-numbing to me. There is something I don't know that I am supposed to know. I don't know what it is I don't know, and yet am supposed to know. And I feel I look stupid if I seem both not to know it and not know what it is I don't know. Therefore, I pretend to know it. This is nerve-wracking, since I don't know what I must pretend to know. Therefore, I pretend to know everything. I just love that. And last week I read it twice. This week I'm just going to read it once. Maybe I'll read it again next week. I think I'll just read it all the time, because how many of us are guilty? I'm just raising my hand ahead of time, proactively. Guilty of pretending to know everything when we really truly know very little. So we started on this journey of the 4 agreements, and I mentioned Don Miguel Ruiz's classic work, The the Four Agreements. It's one of the most incredible reads in 100 and less than 140 pages in the history of mankind. It's an incredible book. It is, to me, it's a design for living, and it's just a great book. And as I said earlier, when I first brought it up, I used to read this every year. I used to try to read it every year. I haven't read it probably in 5 years, maybe 6 years. And so reading it again now, for the purposes of doing the show, is like reading a whole different book. It's a whole new experience for me. That's why it's so worth reading on a yearly basis. And more often than that, if the spirit moves you. This is his corollary to the title of Four Agreements is a Toltec wisdom book. The Toltecs were an ancient Central or South American people, and that is his heritage, is Toltec, Don Miguel. And so last week we did the first agreement, which Don Miguel says is the most important agreement, is be impeccable with your word. And being impeccable with your word is about being impeccable with your word to everyone, but also, maybe more importantly than anything, is to yourself. That means skipping all the negative talk to yourself, the self-talk, it's so funny. An old friend of mine, an old coaching friend of mine who I've known for over 15 years, who lives in Arizona. She's British, and she has this very distinct British accent that I love when she says certain things. And I've heard other people repeat this phrase that I first heard her use a decade and a half ago, but I've heard people have been using it recently. But it was always the best when she said it. She said it with her British accent. She called it the itty bitty shitty committee. Okay, and that's the voices in your head, and those voices are there all the time. There's a great commercial on TV right now, not on TV, on social media right now. It's a woman buying a house, and she's got this conference table, and around the conference table are just all her. It's all around the conference table. They're all different versions of her. And she says, okay, I want to buy this house, and so I want to know what you think. So she goes, control freak me, what do you think? And negative me, what do you think? And control freak me, what do you think? Lazy me, never enough me, what do you think? And so she's got this itty bitty shitty committee, which is really representative of the people in her own head. In the Four Agreements, Don Miguel refers to that as the mitote, mitote, mitote. Those are the voices in our head. And when you're impeccable with your word, you are basically not necessarily silencing those voices, but you're focusing your attention on the voices that are life affirming, that are positive, that are reflective of who you are. Not the voices that would have you do whatever negatives there are in your life that you can do, you don't need a list. You know what they are. You know the negative thoughts that you have in your head, in particular towards yourself. And I think one of the things that is primary in recognizing what he means by be impeccable with your word is to know the etymology of the word impeccable. Impeccable comes from the Latin, the I am of impeccable comes from the Latin in, which is without. And peccable comes from peccare, peccare, which is sin, basically, or fault. So impeccable means without fault or without sin. And that is in reference to yourself as well. I just want to put something out there for those of you who are watching the show and haven't participated in the comments. If you would just say hi, I'll try to acknowledge everybody who comes on. If you have a comment, if you have a question, if you have something that is on your mind around furthering this conversation, please put it in the comments, because your input is hugely important to me. I can sit here and talk till I'm blue in the face. If it's not relating to anybody, what the hell's the sense? Why am I bothering? So if you've got something to say or want to participate or something to add to the conversation, please do it. So that's the first agreement. And Don Miguel says that it's the most important agreement because it is, there you go. Someone from Brazil. Is it Joa? Joa, I think. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Joa, welcome to the show. From Brazil. There you go. That's my second international person, I think. So that's great. Thank you for being here. The being impeccable with your word and knowing that you are always being honest and integral with yourself and with those around you, that's being impeccable with your word. Gandhi's wife was famously asked once by a news person, why is he so happy? And she said, because he is congruent in his thoughts, words, and deeds. That's being impeccable with your word, being congruent. Wayne, that's a great question. You know, what amps up my faith in oneness? And you know what? And if I don't touch on that here, when I finish with this thought that I have around the agreements, please just put it up there again so I don't forget it. You've asked that of me before, and it's a good question, and I'm thrilled to answer it again. Maybe my answer has evolved and gotten better. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. And I think if the first agreement is the most important, the second agreement is the second most important. Don't take anything personally. Whatever happens in our lives by way of interactions with other people, with situations, whatever it is that involves relatives, spouses, co-workers, political people, whatever it is, whatever's out there, whether we get feedback that is positive or negative from others, we have to be really clear not to take it personally, because it's not about us. Everything that we get as feedback from other people, from other sources, is literally their thoughts, their opinion, and all of their opinions are literally filtered through their worldview, through their BS, their belief system. And their opinions, when they are opinionating around me, around you, have nothing to do with who they're opinionating about or towards or whatever. It is only about them. I think it becomes most in focus when we talk in terms of judgment, right? We don't judge. We judge because it's a hole in us, because it's something that's missing in our persona. Gino, how are you, buddy? Glad to see you. The idea that someone expresses something wonderful about me elevates me, exalts me, makes me special is baloney. I'm special in their eyes, but that's their filter. That's their worldview. It's something in their belief system that reflects to them that I'm a great person or I'm wonderful. And the same thing applies if you look at it from the other direction. If they think I suck, that doesn't lessen me. That doesn't make me a horrible person or unworthy. It simply means that I'm not working for this person. Their opinion of me, their impression of me, it's not working. And when it comes to that idea of don't take anything personally, go back to the mitote, right? The idea that there are multiple voices at any given moment in my head. Just I have to remember right then and there not to take that personally either, because we have this, to different degrees, we all have this tendency to, when things don't go exactly the way we want them to, we go to the negative, and too often the negative is about what a loser I am. I say something inappropriate in a group and I'm like, oh God almighty, what an idiot. How could I be so stupid as to say something like that? That's, don't take it personally. Your next screw up is not going to be your first, and more than likely it's not going to be your last. So there's no sense beating ourselves up over it. There's no sense allowing the mitote to have its way. And again, mitote is Toltec for the voices in our head, the itty bitty shitty committee. For those of you who didn't join us in the beginning. And then also, let's flip the script. All right. And in the same vein around not taking it personally what the thoughts in my head are saying, let's also flip the script on the idea of judgments. And I think I said this a little bit ago to just to reiterate that and to focus on that for a minute. Whenever we judge another, it's not about them, it's about us. And what it really says, if it says nothing else about the situation, it just simply says, I have judged this person as less than me. That doesn't say anything about them. What it says is, I'm someone who needed to judge them. And judgment is no more or less a function of the ego, right? The negative sense of the ego. And I'm not someone who, I don't believe in condemning the ego. I don't believe the demonizing the ego. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think the problem with the ego is, as long as it's sitting in the back seat and it's observing, that's fabulous. The minute we allow it in the front seat and behind the driver's wheel, we're in trouble. Because if ego is driving the way, then we're going to be looking to blame and to judge and to be right, and to do all those things that separate us from one another, that make us feel superior to the other. And as soon as we make someone else the other, we're judging. And the minute we're judging, we're someone who has to judge. Now, if we stop and think about the people who we recognize in our lives, who are people who are very judgy, very judgmental. And I was always one of those when I was younger. I was very judgmental of everybody and everything. And that really just was a reflection of my own insecurity and my own lack of self-worth. I had to judge people so that I would feel better about me. But when we stop and think about those people in our lives that we know, those are not people we think highly of, right? Those are people that we kind of look at like, wow, you got to judge everything. You got to put everybody down just to make themselves feel better. So I guess really the lesson there is, if you don't like people who judge, then don't be one of them, right? Does that make sense? Does that sound like a decent idea? Sandra Brightsma, hello there. How are you? Nice to see you here. I appreciate your presence. So yeah, what else do I have here on that agreement? Yeah, the other thing of this, this is very interesting. Back to those voices in our head, okay, which is where we get to take things personally. I'm doing fine, Sandra. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Those voices in our head, they're not coming from other places. They're in our own head. They're reflections of things we've learned, things that we have taken on as part of our belief system, different parts of us that are reflected in our attitudes and how we express ourselves in the world. And in the spirit of the Four Agreements and the book of Toltec wisdom, the Toltecs called those voices the mitote, those voices in our head, those other people up there that are that I love the itty bitty shitty committee. That's what they are. Okay, those people are, the Toltecs called them the allies. They are in one way, shape, or form, they are our friends. Those voices are there to help us move along. In other cultures, in some of the cultures in Europe and Africa and in Asia, I believe, those voices are referred to as the gods working within us. So it's interesting to just stop and recognize, go back to that commercial, the commercial on social media. I'm going to buy this house, and the table full of all the different facets of me. Control freak me, what do you think? Negative me, what do you think? What was one of the other ones there? I lost them here. Never enough me, what do you think? They're always talking to us. Those voices never stop. And I think it's Mel Robbins, is it, who has that book, the 5 second rule? where she talks about the idea that once you have an idea, you have an intention, you have something you want to accomplish, you have 5 seconds to move in that direction, or you start to talk yourself out of it. Well, talking yourself out of it, guess who that is? That's the mitote. That's the itty bitty shitty committee. They're up there talking you out of what it is that you decided you wanted to do. So those voices are always there. Part of not taking anything personally, part of that second agreement is to learn to focus my attention on the voices that are positive, the voices that are saying yes. That's pretty much it. If you have, you guys that are out there listening, that are watching, I keep saying listening. Those of you who know me for a long time know that I did a radio show on the internet for 5 years. So I'm constantly correcting myself here. I forget that you're watching. You're not just listening. But those of you who are out there watching, if you have thoughts on the second agreement, I'd love to know what they are. If you have questions about this, please put them in the comments. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And next week we'll do the third agreement. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. One of my favorites, because there's the itty bitty shitty committee, the mitote. What they're really, really, really good at is making up a story, and that, my friends, is assumptions. And we'll talk about that next week. But so that's the second agreement. I hope that makes some sense to you. I hope you like that. I hope you get the idea. And once again, this is, I think, the Four Agreements is one of the great books of life ever written. I think it's just a fabulous work, and it is, I used to read it every year. I haven't in a long time. I'm reading it again now for the purposes of the show, and I love it. It's like a whole new book, and it really, really, really is incredible wisdom for living everyday life. And there's almost no situation that you will come across in your existence where you can't apply one or more of the Four Agreements, if not all of them, to any given situation. So, yeah, there we are. What else am I? When it comes to the reading thing, I told you I've read some of the great works. I've read Think and Grow Rich. I read this book here, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. That is next on my. Why can't I ever get that right in the camera? There you go. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. I've read that a couple of times, and I'm getting in the process of reading that again for the show here. And I have a good friend, a business associate, who I always joke, I think the only book he ever read was How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it's the only book he ever referenced whenever he talks. But it's a book. It's one of those books, Dale Carnegie's famous work, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that I have never read in my life. And so I just started reading it. And there are, I believe, 3 introductory chapters. And I really only got through the first 2 to get started. And already I am fascinated. Excuse me. So here's another book to put on your reading list if you've not read this. And you know what? These books are classics. These books are worth reading over and over. And I'm really kind of making it a habit. My wife and I, hang on one second here. My wife and I are on a real mission to declutter. And we had lots and lots and lots and lots of books. And we moved 3 years ago to this townhouse that we live in now. And we got rid of some of our books. And I do mean just some. Well, we've gone through them twice now, I think, in the last couple of months, and we have whittled them down by at least another 50%, maybe a third, maybe a little more than a third. And lots of books I have saved over the years for the purpose of reading them again. And so few of them I have ever read again. And I've really kind of put myself on the task, the intention of reading those books again. And I'm finding some of these classics like Think and Grow Rich and the Four Agreements and the Science of Getting Rich. Those are books that are well worth reading. I am also I'm rereading Roger Thiel's book, This Life is Joy. I'm rereading Joe Dispenza's book, Evolve Your Brain, his first book, Evolve Your Brain. I'm rereading that because of those of you who have been watching know that I've got some issues going on that I've been experiencing with my back. So I'm rereading Joe's book because of his experience with his back. Blah, blah, blah. If you know the story, you know the story. If not, you want to know more, just, I don't know, find me on social media or I'll give you my email address here at the end. I got a young fella on here who wants us to know that he's in his early 20s. He claims to be autistic, and he said this is a weird question. He wants to know if I own a leather jacket because they look kind of cool. And actually, Sandra, I own several, and they're very different, and each one of them is different from the other ones. And yes, I agree, they're very cool. Anyway, so the next subject I wanted to talk about today was something that came up in my meditations, and it's the most influential book I ever read in my whole life is this book here, The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. I've read this book 3.5 times. It's 646 pages long. Actually, it only starts on page 25, so it's 621 pages long, which is, I love that about books, that they don't start on page 1. Why? This is, as I said, the most influential book I ever read, and it changed my life forever when I read it the first time over 20 years ago. And it has, I got to stop saying "and," don't I? It has been a tremendous influence in my life. As I said, the book is 646 pages long. It starts on page 25, so it's really only 621 pages. But in the beginning of this book, there are 4 introductory chapters that are actually, they're Roman numeraled 1, 2, 3, and 4. And actually, in this particular copy, they're really not, but they are in my original copy. That's funny. And those 4 introductory chapters are the first 35 pages of this book, page 25 to page 60. And they're called The Thing Itself, The Way It Works, What It Does, How to Use It. And of course, the thing itself is spirit. And those first 35 pages, I want you to know this, because this is hugely important to me, because this is, again, it's the most influential book I've ever read. This is the guiding set of principles for my life, for my existence. It is the metaphysician's handbook, as far as I'm concerned. Those first 35 pages, Ernest Holmes, literally, in my view of things, literally tells you everything you need to know about the science of mind, metaphysics, and the workings of spirit, and how it is a force in the world greater than we are that we can use for our benefit and for the benefit of all. That is all explained in those first 35 pages. And then the next, whatever that is, 586 pages are simply, in his brilliance, Ernest Holmes explaining what he said in those first 35. That's including a 70-page glossary at the end. We're going to spend some time in the next many weeks. I think the majority of people who are involved in this network are people who either know, study, or have studied the science of mind. Some of us are a little bit more involved in it than others. Some of us are practitioners in the Centers for Spiritual Living. Some of us are ministers in that Centers for Spiritual Living. Some of us, myself included, are ministers in other modalities, but all new thought, all metaphysical in nature. And we're going to talk about the thing itself and the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. Because I think it's important that, because that's what this network is all about, is the science of mind. And I don't want to, it's not, I shouldn't say that. It's not, because that's not true. It's the overarching principles that the people who operate here live by and agree to in the in the spirit of Don Miguel. Those are our agreements. That's a part of our, what does he call that? He calls it the domestication. It's part of our personal domestication, this is our belief system. But I just want to delve into it for the folks who are listening. The thing itself is spirit. The thing itself is the overarching creative intelligence of the universe. It's God. It's whatever you want to call it. What it does, how it works, and how to use it is the guideposts for how we manifest our intentions, for how we bring about the things that we wish to desire, the things we desire in this life, all that we require and desire in this life, we bring about by use of metaphysics, whether or not we believe in it, which I always find to be an interesting piece. The universe doesn't care if you believe in it. The law of attraction doesn't care if you believe in it. Science doesn't care if you believe in it. Your belief, your confidence, your whatever in any of those things only affects you. My thoughts about science and metaphysics and everything else, it only affects me. It doesn't affect anyone else. It only affects me. And if I don't believe in those things don't care. I always find that to be a really amazing piece of life in general. The law of attraction doesn't care if you believe in it or don't believe in it. It's operational. It's like gravity, kids. Gravity doesn't care if you believe in it. It's going to work. How often? 100% of the time. So the idea that delving into how does this all work? How does it all come together? How do I manifest what I desire? How do I manifest my intentions, my goals? How do I make them happen? To know a little bit of the circuitry at the higher level, at the highest level, really. It's not about reading. It's not about reading manifestos of people's ideas of the possibilities of how it works. It's about knowing that the universe is an orderly thing. That overarching creative intelligence knows what it's doing. It is a volitional power. It is a volitional energy, creating nonstop, but always knowing what it's creating and then creating through its creation. That's how we get to be a participant. Our intentions, our desires, those are, in the words of one of the treatments that Ernest Holmes uses, is my thought is God thought. What I intend is also what the universe intends. And it is conspiring with me from the minute I have an intention until I manifest it, provided I stay in alignment with the intention. There's the key piece for, I think, all of us. How often am I in alignment with that intention? What is that favorite quote? I used to keep meaning to look this up. I think it's Oriah Mountain Dreamer, but I'm not 100% sure. What if the question is not, why am I so seldom the person I want to be, but rather, why do I so seldom want to be the person who I really am? That's different to me. The person who I really am is the person who's in alignment with what it is I desire, with my intentions, with my goals. That's the person who I really am. Am I there all the time, or am I off the rails here, there, and everywhere? I think most of us spend a lot of time off the rails. I know if you're like me, and I know I am, that's a famous line from a friend of mine. I think you get what I'm saying. I think you understand what I'm talking about here. So there is, yes, a power for good in the universe, and we can use it. And that is what the science of mind and spirit is all about. And we will spend some time with that in the next couple of weeks. That I promise you. And I have, you know what? I'm going to do something I never have done before. And I hope you'll bear with me here. And by the way, if you're out there, if you're watching this show, please comment that you're here. If you have a question about what we're talking about, if you have a question outside of what we're talking about, if you have a question about something else entirely, please put it out there in the comments. Please go in the comments and let me know what it is that's on your mind. I'm going to take a short break. I'll be back in 3 minutes, and I'm going to give you a little countdown that'll show you exactly that. And bear with me, I will be back. All right. I like that. That was good. That was good. Got an opportunity to just kind of collect my thoughts here. I had some other things I wanted to get with you on today, and I didn't have them in front of me. So, um, Lisa asks, "What do you do or be when something shows up other than what you set your intention toward in your DSP?" Lisa knows enough to refer to DSP, which is daily spiritual practice. DSP, daily spiritual practice, came from a young man by the name of Dennis Manguso years ago when I taught in the teen church at Mile High Church. I used to tell the kids all the time, what, how do you solve this problem, that problem, and the other problem? And they knew over time, they knew the answer was almost always going to be daily spiritual practice. And one day, young Dennis just went, DSP, Ken. And I knew exactly what he meant instantaneously. And I told him, Dennis, I will use DSP for the rest of my life, and I will always give you credit. So there you go, Dennis. Wherever you are, my friend, you get credit for DSP. So Lisa, whenever something shows up other than what it is I set my intention on, then there's a couple of different things that I come to me with that. It's either, in my mind, it's either I'm off the rails, as I said earlier, that something else is coming to me because I am not in alignment with my intention. If my intention is here, I've gone over here somewhere or over there somewhere. And what I've done is manifest something else other than what I want. That something else can also be a clear signal that I'm off the rails. But it can also be a direction that, you know what, this was your intention, but this may be something better, which is worth exploring. And I think that's one of the reasons why we meditate. We meditate to get the clarity on those kinds of things. We meditate to know more about what it is that we're trying to motivate ourselves towards, or to move towards, in regards to our intention. What is it that we need to do? What is it we need to be more than anything else to get there? I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps with your thought there. The last piece I have for today is a physical piece, and I really I want to get this out to everybody. The name of the show is Vibrant Living. My beloved Lisa and I have our Facebook brand, which is Vibrant Aging. And let's see if we can put that up here so you can see that. I got to find it first. There you go, Vibrant Aging. And you can reach us there. But one of the things I know about vibrancy is that if the root word of vibrant is vibration, or the other way around. Either way you look at it, you have to keep moving. If you want to keep moving, you have to keep moving. And that sounds really maybe silly to people who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. A young fellow, Sander, who's listening in his 20s, maybe it sounds silly, the idea of if you want to keep moving, keep moving. But the truth of the matter is, I'm 70 years old, and I have exercised my whole life. Certainly not religiously, certainly not something. I haven't done it every day. I haven't done it 5 days a week for ever. I exercise. I'm now at a stage in my life at age 70 where I'm really very focused on no less than 3 and hopefully 5 or even 6 days a week. I'm doing something by way of exercise. And what I want to tell you is that as time passes, it gets harder and harder and harder to keep ourselves healthy without exercise. And exercise includes a lot of things, man. It includes stretching. It includes yoga. I think yoga is a lifesaver for so many of us, myself included. I think it's very, very important. But it's really a key piece of staying healthy is to move your body. And move your body in ways that are not damaging. Let me put it that way. If you are someone who likes to run, find yourself a soft place to run on. Don't be running on the concrete or the asphalt. Run on softer surfaces. Get yourself really good shoes. You might also consider wearing from the very beginning like a neoprene knee brace on each knee so that you are kind of mitigating the pounding that your knees take. What happens as you get older is you start to develop arthritis and cartilage damage, connecting tissue damage because of the pounding. So you want to do things that are less likely to damage you as you're trying to improve you. All right. And what I've discovered here recently, and I've talked about this on the show before, what I've discovered here recently is that body weight exercises are fabulous. They are truly excellent. And by body weight exercises, I mean really the simplest things, stuff you did in high school, man. I mean, I went to an all boys Catholic high school where we didn't have a lot of equipment. So we spent a lot of time doing calisthenics, push-ups, sit-ups. Sit-ups maybe not the greatest exercise in the world. You want to focus a little bit more on crunches. They're a little bit easier on the back. Jumping jacks, the original exercise, jumping jacks. I'll tell you what, set the timer on your phone for 2 minutes and do jumping jacks for 2 minutes. You will feel like you have worked out. And I'm going to tell you that because it's an amazing exercise. But jumping jacks are great. We used to do what we called squat thrusts. Those are now referred to really as burpees. And they're a great exercise. Just jumping side to side. I don't know what you call that. That's a great exercise. The one that I have just discovered that is really, really, really fabulous is you can do this by lying across an exercise ball, or you can do it just hanging off the edge of your bed. What you want to do is lie down on your bed, and you want to have your hips and your legs hanging off the bed. And what you're going to do is just raise your legs, and you're going to raise your legs using the tightening of your glutes and your abdominals, and you're just going to they're basically reverse leg raises is what they are. And leg raises are also great exercise. Squats are one of the greatest exercises ever as a full body exercise. And I think I've told you before, I do squats, and when I do them, I lift my arms up as I go down. So they're just adding that upper body piece to it as well. Just great exercises. So what I'm telling you is that what you need is a space on the floor. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need weights. You don't need a Bowflex. I have all of those. I have a Bowflex. I have a Nordic track. I have free weights and a bench. I'm using them 2/3 of the time now. A third of the time is doing body weight exercises, and I find them to be fabulous for everything. And as you get older, they are less impactful than other things you might do. So I want to get that out there to everybody. I want to get the movement piece out there. If you want to keep moving, you got to keep moving. And it doesn't start, as I've said so many times, it doesn't start in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. It starts in your 20s and 30s. Start moving and keep moving. Gino, the third is the squats, push-ups, and crunches. And the other thing, and the other one that I completely forgot, I'm glad you asked the question, is lunges. And lunges you want to do gently. You want to be gentle with yourself, but lunges are great for core, for your legs, for all the things that help us to keep our balance. And that's really what body weight exercises do better than anything you're going to do with free weights or even with the Bowflex, really. The body weight exercises all help to strengthen the core and help us to stay upright. And those are huge. And I've been using them a lot, and I'm thrilled with them. I also feel that I've not only gotten myself stronger, but I've also managed to, the weight I lost before I went to Hawaii, I've managed to keep off. What did I keep off? I've kept off 7 of the 9 pounds I lost. And that was after 2 weeks on vacation in Hawaii. All right. And now my next goal is to just kind of lose another 7, and we'll see what happens there. But the body weight exercises have really helped me to maintain that weight that I lost, which I think that's a big deal, folks. So I got going across this all of a sudden I can't talk. What is that about? Going across the crawl at the bottom there is teamrockitnow@gmail.com. That's where you can reach me. I want you to know, one of the things that saved my life, really, as I have gotten into this thing where, those of you who followed me a little bit in the beginning of when I first started this podcast, I was giving you an update on my back. I'm experiencing some degenerative discs, and I'm experiencing some problems with sciatic nerves, and I'm working on them. And in the beginning, I couldn't do exercises and stretches to help me. And what I went to was, I don't have a bottle with me, CBD. This is the CBD that I use. I also distribute this. I don't distribute anything that I don't believe in. This CBD is part of a full line of CBD infused products, hair care, skin care, pain relief, gummies, coffee, pet solutions. If you've got an older pet and if they're getting arthritis, you really, really, really need to give them some of our CBD infused pet treats or our bacon flavored CBD for pets. It is extraordinary what it does for dogs. It also calms down. If you got a dog that gets excited at every thunderstorm or every 4th of July, there's a great deal for calming them down. If you got a yipper that barks all the time, calms them down as well. But that's just part of these products. And we've just got a whole new line of cannabinoid and essential oil infused roll-ons for dryness of your skin, for calmness, for a couple of different things. We just introduced them today, actually. So there's all kinds of things in this CBD line that I absolutely adore. I have a full line of sprays to help you with everything from sleep to energy to losing weight. I've got those on the way coming on the way. I'll show you those next week when they get here. It's called Trim 365. I'm using that to help me lose the weight. Amazing product that worked for me the last time. So I just want you to know that those are things that I use to help me with my health, my nutrition, and my wellness. And I really, really want you to know that everything I promote, I use. I don't promote anything I don't use. And everything I promote also comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You don't get that from everybody. You just get that from certain people who have absolute supreme confidence in their products. So this is New Thought Media Network. We are a totally nonprofit organization. We are dependent upon your largesse. And I'm just suggesting to you that if you are spiritually nourished in some way, shape, or form by what we do here, then please tithe to us, donate to us, however you want to look at it. Go to ntmedia.org. That's newthoughtmedia.org and click on donate. And we'll be thrilled with whatever it is you wish to donate to us. That is we're thrilled with that. We're very, very grateful because it would help. What helps to keep us alive and keep us growing. And we're going to dive into musical entertainment here with kind of radio shows that are part of New Thought Media. We're going to do some things that we haven't done before to just expand our bringing you that positively inspiring stuff that is New Thought Media Network. So ntmedia.org and click on donate. And of course, you've got my email address down there. If you want to contact me, please do. Any questions, thoughts, ideas, things I can help you with, teamrockitnow@gmail.com. And lastly, you can go to our Facebook page, Vibrant Aging. That's the page that my beloved Lisa and I have branded as who we are. That's what we do. So I hope something that we had to say here today resonated with you. I hope there was a part of this that you enjoyed. I'm always thrilled to be here. And as always, I am immensely grateful for the great gift of your time and your attention. It means so very, very, very much to me. I wish you all the love and all the blessings that the universe has to offer. And I hope you will join me next Thursday at 3:00 Mountain Time right here on the Vibrant Living Hour. And until then, namaste.